my name is Mike Walton. I just want to say a special thank you to Anna Escobar, my cousin, for having me come to you guys with my story about APOC and about me and my writing journey. My writing journey wasn't a straight one. Um, Essentially, I loved writing as a child. I wrote a lot of different stories. I had a very vivid imagination, but there was a disconnect. I never envisioned that I could write the stories or the books or the movies that I was watching and enjoying. And instead, I went to school to be a lawyer or a teacher. Um, as fate would have it, I started a family very early, and my life changed direction completely, where I ended up becoming a police officer instead. Um, Through my police officer adventures, 9/11 happened, and it was a crazy time in the world, much like it is right now, where we weren't sure what was happening. We weren't sure where another attack was going to take place, and we were receiving daily briefings on different terrorist attacks, different plans that were going on, and we were told to look out for threats that might be, or vulnerable places that could be identified as a target for another terrorist attack. And through that process, my vivid imagination started running wild with me, and I came up with essentially the first chapter of APOC, my first novel. But because my life was so hectic, because I had children so young, because I was so dedicated to work, I shelved that idea in the back of my mind and ignored it, saying, you don't have time to write a fictional story because you have more important things to do. You have work to do, you have your children to take care of, etc. So fast forward the clock many years after 9/11, and I'm working a very crazy case. There's a lot of political pressures. There's a lot of things going on in the background that I'm not going to get into right now. Essentially, I was extremely frustrated, and I have a very rigid or I have a very strong exercise routine, and that usually helps relieve the stress from the day's work or whatever's going on in my life. I work out, I feel better, and I can continue doing what I'm doing day in and day out. But in this particular investigation, it didn't matter how much I worked out. It didn't matter how hard I pushed myself physically. I was frustrated. I was angry. Like I said, there was a lot of things outside of my control that I could control. And when bad guys are getting away with doing bad guy things, I took it very personally. It just so happened to be around New Year's Eve. And a lot of people at the office were talking about New Year's resolutions. They asked me what was my New Year's resolution, and I kind of laughed at them. I said, that's child stuff. We have more important things to do. Let's not get focused on, dreaming. Let's catch bad guys. And one of the persons in the crowd that was talking about New Year's resolutions asked me just a very simple question. Have you done everything you wanted to do in your life? And if asked, 2 years earlier, I don't know if my brain would have responded the same way. But I walked back to my office, I sat down, And all the hopes and dreams that I've ever had rushed to the front of my mind. And almost like flipping over cards, each dream showed up, and I dismissed it as either I'm too old for that or whatever it was. It was not applicable at that time. And then I flipped over my next card that flashed in my brain, and it said, writing that story that I came up with after 9/11. And from that moment on, I started writing my novel. And immediately, I felt a sense of relief I've never felt before from working out. It was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, because nobody could tell me I couldn't write that. Nobody could say, stop. I was the boss. It was up to me. I got to write what I wanted, how I wanted. I could describe my characters any way I wanted. And that project was just for me initially. Again, as fate would have it with my life, within a couple months after starting my project and working on APOC, I was training for a triathlon and I got hit by a car. All the doctors, all the medical professionals didn't think that I would be able to resume being a police officer. They thought my career was over. They thought, and one doctor actually said, what have you planned to do outside of policing? Because I don't think you're ever going to go back to it. And that was a very harsh reality for me, because up to that point, my life was policing. I worked relentlessly towards catching criminals and doing a good job doing it. And the only thing that I had left, because there was a lot broken on my body, and I couldn't physically work out, and I couldn't do a whole bunch of things, the only thing left for me was writing. So I continued writing my story, APOC. And when I started coming up with character names, I wanted my lead character to be the name of my father, or at least a part of his name. For those who don't know, or if Anna's told anybody, I didn't know who my father was growing up. My mother told me his name was Miguel Escobar. She told me he was from Colombia. She told me he was a good man. She told me that he loved his family. But that's all she told me. So my whole childhood, my adult life, up until this point, I was trying to find my father, but I wasn't successful. I didn't know how to find him. It's not as easy as you would think. So when I decided to publish my novel, I wanted my main character to be my father's name, so that it would help with interviews, especially in a North American market. Why did you call your character Miguel, if asked? And then I could respond, well, I'm looking for my father, and I actually named my main character after my father. It was a way for me to help flush out or find family members who might know my father and would let him know that I exist, because my mother told me that he didn't know I existed. They had broken up, and she never came back and told him that she was pregnant for me. So that's the reason why my character is Miguel Mejia. Unknown to me, Mejia was a mistake my mother made, and his name wasn't Mejia Escobar, it's actually Escobar. So I still had the story, but it was also why I had a hard time trying to find my father, because I had the wrong name. Anyways, hopefully you liked my little story and just my little writing adventure. I'm currently on book 3. I keep writing. It still brings me that sense of relief that I don't get from working out or any other activity. It is, I love it. Um, and I encourage anybody out there who's also loves writing, do it because you love it. Do it because you love it. If you get paid for it, fantastic. But when you're doing something because you love to do it, I can't explain how good that makes you feel. And you don't have to sell your story short. You don't have to change your story to fit whatever other people want. You write the story because you enjoy it, and that's what's brought me joy. So hopefully you like my story, hopefully you like my novels, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.